For those of you who don't know, Lebanon is that little small dot at the east of the Mediterranean coast. It's a very small country of about 10,452 square kilometers and 4.2 million people. The good thing about Lebanon is that all businesses in Lebanon usually operate in all the Levant region. So most of local businesses have offices in Jordan, in Syria, in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Qatar, in Egypt, and so on and so on. So that's one of the major positive points of doing business in Lebanon. Otherwise, these 4.2 million people in Lebanon have a high GDP per capita of $15,000, which makes it a high purchasing power for Lebanese people. So they are always looking into new investments, new opportunities, and innovative ideas. Thirdly, Lebanon offers a very well-educated and highly skilled workforce. Most of the people in Lebanon are trilingual. They speak Arabic, French, and English fluently. I'm French educated, so you can see the... Anyway. And a multicultural society. We feel that we're closer to the Western style, to the European way of thinking than the Arab way of thinking, which is easier in general to do business with Lebanese in the Middle East than with other countries in the region. Now, a general overview about the economy in Lebanon. It's based on a liberal trade and with a strong private initiative. The GDP in 2012 was at 45.25 billion US dollars. It is expected in 2013 to hit $46 billion. The problem is that we usually had the growth of around 7 to 8% per annum. Due to the regional unrest, we just had a positive growth of 1.5%, which is still good despite everything that's happening in the region. 70% of the GDP is services, when 25% is industry and 5% is for agriculture. So it's a service-based economy. Most of the imports from the UK to Lebanon are services. UK and Lebanon have always had a very healthy bilateral trade relationship. In 2008, the UK exports to Lebanon were at around 304 million pounds, when in 2012 we hit 421 million pounds, and we're expecting to reach in 2013 500 million pounds as UK exports. So it's approximately a year-on-year increase of 17%. Most of the UK exports to Lebanon are machinery and transport equipment. I don't know if you can see it clearly here. So mainly it's power generating machinery and it's cars, vehicles. Power generating machinery are mostly sold afterwards in Iraq. So what happens is it's often exported to Lebanon, assembled in Lebanon, and sold back to Iraq and other countries in the region, which is one of the examples why, like I said earlier, it is a hub for the region. Otherwise, we have lots of pharmaceutical products exported from the UK to Lebanon, food and live animals, beverages, and tobaccos. Now, these numbers only include exports of visible trade and exclude non-visible trade. Non-visible trade meaning financial, education, insurance, shipping, that are estimated at around 250 million pounds a year. So in total, if we add both trades, we can have approximately 700 million pounds a year of UK exports to Lebanon. Now, the education sector in general in Lebanon has more than 1 million students. 50% of those are registered in private schools. We have 2,700 schools in Lebanon, of which 40% are private schools. So you can see that we invest a lot in education in Lebanon. Although private schools are very expensive, most of the people would rather put their kids in private schools. We have a high literacy rate in compared to the Arab countries of around 90%. 50% of schools have computer labs. Only 50% of schools have computer labs, and these are the private schools. Most of them are private schools, but not all of them are connected to the internet. So the Ministry of Education and Higher Education is investing a lot of money on ICT, in supporting ICT in schools and universities. Most of the projects are funded by the World Bank. The UK, of course, is one of the most popular destinations for Lebanese students, along with the USA, Canada, France, and of course the UK. The European Union made a study in 2011, and I don't know if you can see it clearly, but they have ranked Lebanon as being 7th worldwide in terms of quality of primary education and being 4th worldwide in quality of math and science education after Belgium, Finland, and Singapore, which puts Lebanon very high on the map of education in the world. Now, the IDAL, the Investment and Development Agency of Lebanon, have identified 5 reasons to invest in Lebanon. One of them being the low restrictions on capital flows. Second, being competitive business environment. It takes only 9 days to open a business in Lebanon and only 37 procedures. Like I said earlier, we have a highly skilled and educated workforce, a strong banking sector. The central bank in Lebanon applies very strict rules on banks. We are one of the rare countries in the world who apply the secrecy, the banking secrecy, and finally, the market access. Lebanon has 54 treaties for promotion and protection of investment and agreements with 32 countries for double taxation avoidance. Now, the UK and Lebanon don't have an agreement for double taxation. However, if you provide proof that you have paid your taxes in Lebanon, you are often exempted of paying them again in the UK. That's good for the UK. Now, here are some examples. You have two ways of doing business in Lebanon. It's either you invest in Lebanon or you go through a local agent in Lebanon. Some examples: British American Tobacco and Unilever have had their offices in Lebanon for several decades, as long as I can remember, and they're doing pretty well. Their headquarters for the Middle East are in Lebanon, but they also work with local distributors and local Lebanese companies. Lush, Wedgwood, Marks & Spencer, Ted Baker, all have recently opened in 2012 in Lebanon, and they're going through local representative. Jaguar, the agent of Jaguar in Lebanon, is one of the oldest representative of the Jaguar brand worldwide. He's been representing the brand for more than 50 years successfully, and both have a very interesting relation. Now, I'm going to talk in general about some legalities and taxation in Lebanon, just so you have a general idea. It's very close to the UK system. It's nothing you've never heard of. You have various legal formations. It's either individuals or it's partnerships. Now, individuals, you have to be Lebanese or local to be able to open an individual company. So it is recommended for a foreigner to go through partnerships and capital companies. In capital companies, you have limited liability companies, also known as SARL. SARLs are the only kinds of companies that can be fully owned by foreigners. So a British can open by himself a limited liability company or SARL. Otherwise, the joint stock company, holding and offshore companies, also known as SAL in Lebanon, have to have a majority of Lebanese shareholders, but can be managed by foreigners, of course. Taxation. As you can see, it's supposed to write, I don't know. Tranches are applied on individuals, on individual companies, where a fixed percentage of taxes is applied on SALs, SARLs, limited liability companies, and other kinds of companies. It goes between 10 and 15%. It applies on corporate income taxes on profits, on dividends, on royalties, and so on. But it is a fixed tax. As for non-resident taxes, 7.5% from the total amounts of services rendered and 2.25% of the total amounts of the supply of products. So if you are exporting your products to Lebanon, you will have to pay 2.25% as tax, and if it's a service, it's 7.5%. As I said earlier, there is no double taxation agreement between the UK and Lebanon. However, you can be exempted if you prove that you have paid your taxes successfully in Lebanon. Now, here are some useful contacts for you. The IDAL, the Investment and Development Agency in Lebanon, it's an agency, it's a government agency that helps investments in Lebanon, helps all foreigners invest in Lebanon from A to Z, even securing funding sometimes. The Aboud law offices, it's our recommended lawyers. It's the embassy lawyers as well. So, and of course, UK Trade and Investment. You can contact the UKTI office anytime in Lebanon for any help needed, and we'll be happy to guide you through it. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions,